This stream is sponsored by IGK TAS, telemetry analysis system powered by IGK.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to League Racing TV for the penultimate round of the F2 Championship here in TTML. And we are at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache for round number 9 out of 10. It is the Brazilian Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge, and joining me once again in the commentary box, as usual on a Thursday evening, is Pepsi Freak. Pepsi, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you for asking. I'm glad you actually said the full name, not myself, because I think I would have butchered it, you know what, and back. But even though the championship has been decided last week, there is still a lot to play for 2 for 4 at the very least, even 2 through 5, and you'll run over that in a second. But I think this will be a very interesting last 2 rounds where a lot of drivers are still going to scrap over what's left.
Yeah, certainly. We'll get the standings up ever so... Well, we'll get them up now, actually, to show you what happened. Last time out, it was a victory for Zoidema, then securing the championship. He is obviously now unbeatable. He can't get beaten for the rest of the season. There's still a massive battle going on for second place between Scott, Carwin, Rob, Tom. He got that 10-second penalty. You might remember if you were here last week, he got a 10-second penalty right at the end of the race that did get removed to get him his first podium. Tibos, Neymar still in with a chance as well, and AMG possibly with his form. So still very close for second place in the drivers. And if we're being perfectly honest, it's still very close in the constructors as well. That can be secured tonight. We could see Williams take the constructors championship standings tonight, but you can see behind them, Red Bull extremely close behind, Mercedes, Alpine, McLaren, even Ferrari not too far behind. So Williams need to be 55 points ahead. 56 points ahead when you include the fastest lap. That is the magic number of points they're going to have to be ahead tonight. And again, Zoidema's teammate not having to make it. So having to do it on his own. And I believe he said he might be tempted to start from the back of the grid just to add an extra bit of spice to the action.
Well, something else I'm noticing right now is I don't you never know. But yeah, it's so close right now that, yeah, Williams can clinch, but we know Zoidem is a very fast cookie, so he's looking to probably get it all done so there's no heroics going into the last race. He can just have fun in the last race and do whatever he wants, and that's something that I think he's really striving for. And in the driver standings, you got, it's, again, a tale of different seasons where you have Scott, who's currently second in 2 championships, trying to win at least 1. Can't win this one, trying to go for the sprint title. Carway Rob trying to stay close, his internal rival, you could say, this whole season. And you got the drivers Tom, who's never gotten podiums, but constantly consistent, well, except till last week. And you got Tibos, who's been very snake-bitten. And then you got 2 Mercedes. So I think it's going to be very interesting these last rounds with so many drivers so close, with so many different styles of attack and driving. I think it's still all to play for, and it's going to be quite fun to watch.
Yeah, certainly. It should be pretty good action. I would believe the Red Bulls are trying to make their way in, so hopefully it won't be too long. Hopefully we'll be able to see them, because they have put on some good shows, and we definitely enjoy seeing that white Red Bull. Interlagos circuit then, very interesting track, very fun track, I seem to find. Always produces pretty decent races, I think, in Formula 1. 2019 was the last one, of course. Max Verstappen taking a victory there. First ever career podiums for Pierre Gasly and Carlos Sainz have gone on to achieve better things since then. Sector 1 and Sector 3, all pretty much about flat-out power. It's that middle sector, very twisty indeed. And if you get stuck behind a slower car at that point of the circuit, that could be crucial in the race when it comes to seeing undercut attempts or maybe even overcut attempts.
Yeah, indeed. I also know that the Senna S's, it's very easy to get a cut warning there when you try to just get a little bit too much or go for an overtake, a little bit too daring. The game will throw you a 3 if you're not careful. And it's also there as well where you can easily spin the car as well just at the end of Sector 1. If you don't get the car powered down in time, that back end may go for a ride, and you may be looking the wrong way around. So it's a very track where you don't think it takes as much driving skills as it does, but at the same time, you really have to be on the power and on your wits' end. It's kind of like a Japan. It's kind of like a Coda. It's a very technical track where if you kind of lap in concentration for a second, you may have the car kick out, and you're looking the wrong way around, and you have to dig yourself out of a very big hole, which is just not fun at all.
Yeah, and of course, there's always that other element at Interlagos. There's always a chance of rain. Always a possibility that we could get some rain. 2008, Lewis Hamilton winning his first title. 2012, when Sebastian Vettel took that third one, coming back from the back of the grid, having all sorts of fun there with the weather. That could really mix things up as well, so I'll have to wait and see what this circuit has to offer. First used in Formula 1 back in 1973, a much longer version than what is used now. It was shortened for the early 90s. I think Ayrton Senna was actually the first driver to take the victory on the shortened layout. It's been many, as we've already said, many great races over the years. 2 DRS zones, and you imagine that's where most of the overtaking is going to happen, especially on the run down into Senna S, turn 1.
Honestly, I say that the main pass is going to be up, run down the Senna S's in 1, but I've seen some drivers throw some very daring overtakes in quick races and even in iRacing as well. They'll just say, I see an opportunity. Even Gran Turismo Sport as well. They tracks almost every game, it seems like. You'll just see a driver just throw a random pass into something because he sees an opportunity to make it happen. And with some of the short runs, I generally think someone's going to try and overtake in a spot that we don't usually see one happening. Maybe Carway Rob, I don't think's here, but maybe one of the Red Bulls, maybe AMG, maybe even Neymar. I think we'll see someone try something at least a little bit daring.
Yeah, certainly. I think they might as well now. They know the Drivers' Championship's over, which is another reason why I think you sort of see so many great races around this track. The Drivers' Championship in this case is over. There's still the Constructors to fight for, but I feel, especially in league racing, Constructors is a bit more of a, second fiddle, shall we say, to the Drivers' standings, especially when there's not any prize money or anything like that on the line. So we'll just have to wait and see what all the drivers are going to come up with in this session. We have got 15 drivers, and I can tell you that qualifying is getting underway. And the first bit of good news is that it's going to be dry for qualifying, and it is, there is a slight chance of rain at the end of the race.
I was going to say, I looked at it, it was like 2, 3, 4. I'm like, all right, it's going to be dry. 9, 16 at the 45-minute mark. And then by an hour, because this can be sometimes a little fluctuating, it could be high or low, up to 44%. So there is a chance at the very end of this race. It may not be heavy enough to switch to intermediates, though, but it's still just maybe enough. If we get a couple safety cars, it could stretch into that window. And who knows, maybe a driver takes a daring risk. Maybe if we get a late safety car restart to lap 23, lap 24, someone may try something and goes a little crazy. Maybe shades 2008.
Yeah, certainly. Drivers, like you said, it was the Toyotas that season, Timo Glock and Jarno Trulli, who famously tried to survive as long as possible on a set of dry tyres when the track was clearly, unfortunately for them, not in a dry condition. We have got a few cars heading out on circuit then. Neymar, the only retirement last time, really in the dramatic moment of the US Grand Prix, having that slight little moment on the curb coming through turn number 2, ended up collecting completely innocent party, Scott Bugner, and that really did end any chances Scott had of taking the championship. Interesting that we've got this mix of tyres at this moment in time. 7 of the 15 cars looking like they are going to go out on that set of the medium tyres for now. Perhaps again taking advantage of the fact that we've got a few less cars here than we would ideally like, but I'm sure they will put on the best possible action that they can, and we'll wait and see what they can do on a hot lap. And we'll start with a man then who's got the most pole positions of anyone this season. 3 poles, the only full-time driver to have multiple pole positions. Salt the Reserve, the only other one to have multiple. So let's see what Neymar can do around the Interlagos circuit then. 4.309 kilometres, 2.677 miles. The Danish driver now heads into the centre S, sticking to the right-hand side. Very easy to go deep into this corner. The downhill braking zone does mean you have to brake that slight bit earlier. Now coming through turn number 3 along the Retta Aposta down this back straight, heading towards turns number 4 and 5 to see the Delago. Expect to see drivers chucking one down the inside and fighting side by side all the way up through here, and those battles will carry on up the hill as well. Now heading up this hill into the second sector now, into Ferraggiova, this long right-hander here. And then you've got to make sure you get your braking right for the next part of this circuit. Now it's all very tight and twisty through Pinheirinho. This middle sector just about keeping it nice and steady on the power, keeping a good rhythm. Coming into Bico de Pato, where of course we saw Hamilton and Albon come together in 2019, costing the Thai driver his first ever podium. Through Magulio into Young Sowers, that is, I believe, Wolsey, or Nicholas, I should say, getting well out of the way. And now it is a flat-out blast to the finish for Neymar. This has looked like a very tidy lap from the Danish driver. We've come to see him pretty much dominate qualifying towards the latter half of the season as he sets a 107.021.
That is a pretty good lap indeed, and I think it's something worth noting as well, and I think definitely going to be a competitive lap. We still got a lot of drivers out there right now. Scott, though, this is for Purple Sector 1, so we'll have to watch how he sets in. Everyone else has done green. But something else, while you're doing that lap, I did notice that I think it was Phoenix who spun. He was the first car across the line, and then he spun right out of the Sector 1 at that sweeping left. So a bit of an odd place is now Walsey goes P2 with a 108.336 on a set of mediums. Now Tibos jumps him on a set of softs. So a lot of times are coming down here. Conti 4th. But again, something to maybe watch right now is Scott, as I think he is currently going to be taking the longer up the straight. Yes, he is. Purple sector 1, green sector 2, a little bit slower in the second sector, by at least I think about a second. So we'll see where he slots in. It's going to be P2 with a 107.627. So I think that second sector, yeah, it did. It cost him dearly in the hunt to get pole position.
Yeah, it did cost him in the end. Still plenty of time, and being such a short circuit, you have got plenty of opportunity to head around, but yeah, lost.
Oh, pardon the wall there, Luis Rock. Sorry to cut you off. Coming off in the sector 1 that just back and kicked out horrible. I thought that was going to be wheel shredded off, but he is still going to be green, but probably very much of a fright indeed for the AlphaTauri driver.
Yeah, it is a common place to see cars getting it wrong at that part of the circuit. Didn't have too bad of a debut last time out. Just got caught up in a bit of traffic, broke his front wing, but definitely showed lots of pace, thankfully for him. And I think given the damage that he's got on his car, I think any time on this game you lose your entire front wing in a big shunt, you are a lucky individual that is all that has happened to you. See what AMG can do now in the other Mercedes. As we said, they're still fighting for the Constructors' Championship at this moment in time. 47 points off Williams at the moment. They've got both their drivers, and both of them in the top 4 as well. It's a Mercedes, Red Bull, Mercedes top 4. Tibos in 5th, slowest of the drivers on the soft tyres at the moment. Still wonder whether that was a deliberate ploy by Tibos to go a bit slower on those tyres, as some of the drivers now starting to head out on their outlaps again. You'll notice Zoidem has retired. He's going to try and see what he can do from the back of the grid. Nicholas, he's pushing hard, reserving in the Haas team. Haas the only team, a bit like in real life, not to score any points, but because he's a reserve, he's not eligible to score any, as Mr. McLaren had a spin again.
As Nicholas goes P2 in his Haas, I was going to say 3 cars so far, both McLarens and the AlphaTauri driver of Lewis Rocks have all spun in that area. So something I didn't really notice in 2020, but it seems like a lot of drivers are losing it in corner 5, right before 4-5, and they're really kicking the back end. So that may be something to watch out during the race, that 3 drivers have lost it, struggling through traction. So maybe a setup issue, or maybe something to do with the game's mechanics just being slightly different, that may be something really to watch out for.
Yeah, certainly. Well, we'll have to wait and see, like you said, what the drivers can do later on in this session, whether we're seeing them just push that tiny bit harder at the moment, and trying to see if there was any common theme. I know a couple of the drivers that lost it were on the medium tyres. I can't remember if Louis was on them as well, so maybe just those harder tyres, trying to get that extra bit of grip out of them is just costing them at the moment. Sonoda has kept it clean, though, with the first couple of sectors. Bit wide of the apex. Gru Young Sao managed to get his first points of the season the last time around in the Aston Martin. Let's see what he can do as he now heads towards the finish line. Hugging the left-hand side of the track is the fastest way through here, and he has definitely learned that, as that is a 108.292. Very respectable lap, puts him fastest of everyone on the medium tyres. Of course, we are getting the track evolving with just over 11 minutes to go. Neymar, Nicholas, and then the 2 Red Bulls, and then AMG. So definitely a big opportunity with Zoidema starting from the back, and Mercedes and Red Bull having both of their drivers. Definitely a big opportunity for them to really get back into this Constructors hunt.
Especially if one decides to go for the front. Let's say like Scott decides to be the attacker and Charlie Harris decides to be the rear gunner. It's not NASCAR where you can legally block, but you can make drivers a living nightmare if they're behind you, where you can be very defensive. It's kind of hard with this long straight. If the car's faster, he will get around, but a good rear gunner could be able to hold him up, as Phoenix did have a purple sector 1 and good sector 2 and sector 3, recovering well after spinning, will now go P3 in his McLaren, which is pretty nice to see. But it looks like almost every driver now is either going to switch off to a set of softs or not going to keep their laps, with almost everyone but at least probably going to be going after one more attempt on a set of softs. So the only 2 drivers have locked in a set on mediums right now that probably going to keep them are David Chaud and Sonoda. With Sonoda coming in with 10 minutes to go, I even think he'll be getting it off. So bits of an interesting strategy. That's like 7 drivers went out there on a set of mediums, but all of them may abandon ship.
Yeah, Tibos, he went out on a set of softs, but his first run wasn't exactly great. Lost a lot of time in the final sector, so I wonder if he went very deep into Young Sal, the final braking zone. He has improved ever so slightly in the first sector, 600ths up at the moment. So unlucky not to win that first race of the season. You might remember him getting that late puncture, and I think then we'd have been very surprised to hear the fact that he's only had 1 podium in 8 races, and that was a second place at Silverstone. Still in that hunt though for second in the championship at the moment. Finds himself 15 points behind Scott, and with the point system here in TTML, 30 for a win. 15 points really isn't much whatsoever, as Tibos now heads towards the line. Goes up into 4th place. Interestingly, that he went over to the right-hand side of the track at the end of that lap there, where it is definitely the quicker way to stick to the left, although it will compromise your next run.
Yeah, it will indeed. It can get a very loosey-goosey back end if you do that, or if you tap to back it down, it could really run your time down. But it is a line that can work for certain cars and certain setups. So again, different strokes for different folks, where some drivers may feel more comfortable really pushing that inside line and trying to get in a good exit here. Scott's about to finish starting his lap here again, and it looks like he's improved both sectors, so it will be an improvement. How hard will the Red Bull go? It will be P2, barely off pole. No purples until the 3rd sector, though, but still just barely off, so really found some good time there. And we then have Charlie Harris going 3, so both Red Bulls doing what they need to do. But with Neymar on a lap about to come to the line as well, he does have a purple sector 2. He did improve in sector 1, so we'll see where he puts his car. How far will he improve? It will now be a 106.998. So put Neymar, gets another little bit more breathing room on LRTV Scott and Charlie Harris, but not a lot more than he just had.
Yeah, Neymar earlier this week when I was speaking to him said he was struggling slightly around this circuit. I wish I was struggling as much as him on this game. Fantastic lap time, first driver into the 106s, but Amanda was quick last time out. It's looking quick here. Louis, he was purple in the 1st sector, slightly down in the middle sector, but he could definitely get his AlphaTauri up there with the big boys at Red Bull. So let's see what Louis can do as he now heads towards the finish line in that AlphaTauri, taking that faster line and gets himself up into 2nd, 107.097. Good to see him get that, really, on his first proper run in this session, of course, after he had that mistake earlier on. So shows he has got that natural pace, of course. AMG just starting his lap now. Nicholas, he's invalidated. So most of the drivers have done their second runs. Neymar retains the fastest lap, but we've now got Louis in 2nd.
Yep, I think Louis kind of took a life lesson from that crash, maybe even used one of his 9 lives. He gets to keep going, and he's not going to waste that opportunity. He's going to definitely try to climb. But with 7 minutes to go, Neymar's the only driver to break into the 106 bracket. But honestly, I think as track gets more evolved and obviously as it goes on, I definitely think we could see a couple drivers like Louis coming in, Scott, Charlie Harris, maybe even a couple more being able to break into that 106 range. So we'll have to wait and see how it shakes up. But the question is you don't want to use your soft tires too much. I think someone may have... yeah, Sonoda retired from the session. Yeah, he was retired. He did not crash on track. Actually, did he crash on
his
track?
Car's... I went on board with Phoenix there. His car was just parked in the middle of the circuit with no wheels. So whether he's drifted too far right in the braking zone and clouted the wall or lost it under braking, and that's where the game's put him. Yeah, that's a weird place to have a car stopped.
Well, something weird that just happened is David was, I think, on a flyer, and he saw that car, and he instantly had to abort his flyer here. So he's probably not going to be too thrilled with Sonoda's ghost car being there, because it totally, because he just saw the car in the Apex, didn't know whether it was an alive car or not, and had it compromised his lap on entry. So Sonoda could maybe get a penalty for that, even though technically not his fault, because it did hinder David's run there. So it'll be interesting to see if Stewart's even take a look at that if David even wants to protest. But yeah, very odd place to crash. You don't usually see it happen that often. But just to finish my point, with 6 minutes to go though, softs aren't really, tires go long, but you don't want to burn up too many of your softs and put yourself in a bad situation though. And with 6 minutes to go, you're given about 3 softs, if not mistaken, 4. So they got 1 more set left. So it's going to be a put up or shut up lap in about 5 minutes time.
Yeah, some of those that went out on mediums earlier on, of course, you can see their best laps. Well, all the bottom 3 that have set a time have done their best lap on the mediums. And I know a couple of others did use medium tyres earlier on. Wolsey was one of them. He's only been in 1 race so far this season, and he got a pole and victory. Very different circuit though, Spa-Francorchamps, compared to Interlagos. So we'll have to see how he does here. But he looks to be there or thereabouts at the moment. In 6th place, Dave, he's improving ever so slightly at the moment. Only a couple of thousandths up on his time. In that 11th place, the alternate strategy. Okay, we say this about every circuit. It can work around here. It's just traffic management is so important. If you catch up to someone in the middle sector, you are going to lose a lot of time. Or, like you said yourself, have to go for a very risky move.
Yeah, you're going to have to risk it on a set of mediums. Is it worth it? It's just something where I'm more of a patient driver. I don't want to throw it away. But 2 things worth noting right now is 1, Tibos isn't qualifying on a set of mediums right now with 4 minutes to go. Bit odd, but he's barely in 10th right now, so I guess he figures what he's got to lose. If he gets bumped by 1 more driver, he will have to start any tire he chooses. So why not take set of mediums to see if you can get a free choice of tire here? But the second thing worth noting is, maybe it's a glitch on my screen, but going into 1, I think I still see Sonoda's wheel just sitting there, at least on my spectator cam. I don't know if it's on yours as well in the main feed. Now Tibos is coming in, so he's going to bail on this lap. So he took 1 lap on a set of mediums, didn't even put down a time, and is coming back in. Bit odd. Indeed.
Yeah, whether he just wanted to bed the mediums in, get a feel for what they were like, and maybe then when he saw when he saw Dave's time improving, he was thinking, you know what, I'm not going to retain that top 10 anyway, so I might as well either stop now and not use for tyres whatsoever, or try and get a bit further up the order. Someone who is trying to get further up the order, and a lot further, because he's gone purple in the first sector, is Nicholas. Only done 2 races so far this season, Bahrain and Belgium. Didn't finish either of them, so he enjoys turning up at the Bs. Let's see what Brazil has in store for him. Again, purple in that middle sector. We are going to see Nicholas, as long as he gets things right here on this final straight, doesn't miss a gear change, activated his DRS at the right time, surely we are going to see Nicholas go fastest of everyone, 106.825, and 1.5 tenths around a track this short is quite a margin.
Remember, he was our pole sitter in Bahrain. It was either him or the other Haas. But one of the Haas's was our pole sitter. They were both pretty strong in Bahrain. If you were at the start of the season looking at the bingo card, you're like, oh yeah, these two will do well. But then he only showed up for 2 races and struggled in both, just with traction or just the game itself and other things in his life. And he's a quick driver. He just doesn't show up consistently enough. So I don't think it's a write-off seeing him this high up, and he's pretty rapid. But I definitely think we got Louis on a run as well. Did not improve Sector 1. Sector 2 is green. He had a purple Sector 3, so as long as he can kind of keep 3 going, I don't know if it's going to be enough to jump Neymar. We'll have to wait and see, but it definitely will at least be something, and he's going to cross the line. It's going to be a 106.959, and that will jump Neymar, and that would have been pole if not for the Haas driver.
Yeah, so that's it for his qualifying then. He's gone a bit earlier, and as has Nicholas, I think, maybe just to get that tiny bit of free air. We've seen drivers do this before just to avoid getting caught in traffic. Although Nicholas, he might actually, if he wanted to, he might have enough time to head out on circuit again as he head back into the pits with 2 minutes 30 remaining. And we are starting to see a few more drivers head out there on track. Tibos is going to be leading them at the moment. The 2 McLarens are very close together. Not sure if they're planning anything. They're all reserve. Is Wolsey, and Phoenix is the full-time driver. So with Wolsey being the reserve, I'm not sure we'll be seeing too much planning between them. But let's see what Tibos can do. It's been a bit more of a tougher last few races for the Alpine team. Themselves and Sway both seem to have been just struggling on occasions, getting caught up in some bad luck, perhaps starting further up the field. You're less likely to get caught up in that bad luck, of course. So let's see what Tibos can do. He's 11th at the moment. Doesn't need much to get himself into the top 10. There's a fantastic first sector gains, about 1.5 tenths. It's still looking pretty close at the moment. Quarter of a second separates AMG to Tibos. It's just you've got a bit of a gap ahead of AMG to Scott, then a bit of a gap again to Neymar. So from 5th to 11th place at this moment in time, someone's going to be missing out, and we're going to have a very quick driver starting on that alternate strategy.
I mean, looking at his times, his Sector 1 time was actually right around, it's better than the driver currently in 4th, and it's better than the current driver currently in 6th, 7th, as well as 3rd. He's even got a better Sector 1 time than Neymar, just barely off. So in theory, now Tibos is validated, so that line is now basically mute point. But he was looking good, but he's got enough time. If he could save his stuff, go for one more run. But you don't usually see drivers go for 2 runs on a set of softs around Brazil. But with 1:05 to go, that is what Tibos is going to have to do. Nicholas is outgoing again, though, which is kind of shocking. You think after the time he put down, you think he'd be saying, all right, that's good. Neymar just started his lap. Scott about to start his, and he's got Charlie Harris ahead of him. So if the McLarens were definitely doing something, I think the Red Bulls are instead.
Yeah, McLaren's are going slightly earlier on, actually.
Walls just hard on the wall hard. Lost it coming out of the end of Sector 2 there, about that sweeping right. And it is a similar crash to what happened to Louis, except he did not survive it like Louis did.
Yeah, so he's had a massive crash, so that's Wolsey. 8's the best he's going to do. His teammates now heading towards the finish line. Phoenix is invalidated, so we won't be seeing any improvement from him. David Chahud's flying a long way up the order, so he can get himself into the top 10 here and perhaps knock Phoenix out in the McLaren towards the line. David does get himself up into that 10th place. Is there enough left in Phoenix to improve? I don't think he's going to have enough electrical energy, to be perfectly honest, at this moment in time. We've got Neymar here. He's gone fastest in the first sector. Green in Sector 2. He wants that pole position here. Does the Mercedes driver. He's shown some absolutely fantastic qualifying form, similar to what we've seen his favourite driver, Lewis Hamilton, do. Checkered flag is out. What's it going to be for Neymar? Fastest of everyone. 106.759 from him. We've got Nicholas has lost it through the first part of the Senna S, so we're not going to be seeing any improvements from him in this session. Sway can't go up any further. He stays in 8th place. Tibos does improve time-wise, stays in 12th, does get that free set of tyres, so that might be a blessing in disguise in the end. AMG, he now heads towards the line. He stays in 5th. We're seeing a lot of drivers improve their times, not necessarily improve their position at the moment. Scott and Charlie in the Red Bulls, they'll be the next drivers. Scott's slightly down at the moment, and Charlie as well. But I think Scott's about to get a lovely slipstream off his teammate.
That could give him enough of a toe to get him up a little bit higher. He's fourth. If it gets a good enough toe, it could get him to third. We'll see where it is. It looks like he's just a little bit too far away to get that real OP slipstream, and it will be no improvement for, I think, either driver. Maybe Harris should have a slight improvement, but it's not going to be enough. And I don't think any driver is really going to compete here. So, yep, Neymar will get pole position. And honestly, looking at his times, I thought he was just going to be short of Nicholas, but he really pulled it in the Sector 3 where he really improved, and that's what got him this pole position.
Third pole position in a row for Neymar. A second place he got in Japan for pole after a bit of a bad start. Worked a alternate strategy with a safety car absolutely fantastically. Was battling for the lead last time out. Had a crash with Scott Bogner. Can he convert this to that first victory of the season? And it is a fourth pole position. Puts him in a pretty good spot to maybe be heading towards second in the championship. Neymar on pole, Nicholas second, Louis in third. Of course, we don't know what we're going to see Zoidema do from down in 15th. Starting on that alternate strategy with a possibility of rain at the end of the race might end up being the best thing.
The rain could definitely be a strategy changer if it does come near the end. But at the same time, it may not even come, and if it does come, it may be too late to really do anything with. So you can't really plan for the rain here. There's no real element of like, oh, the rain's definitely coming. But it's a situation where if you go fast enough and you make your own luck, you don't need the rain to really come out and make something happen.
Yeah, certainly. So it is Neymar on pole position then. Just within a tenth of a second was Nicholas. Louis exactly 2 tenths behind. Very close between Scott and AMG, 4th and 5th. Dave, good qualifying from him. Not seen that too often from him this season. Can he get a good result from 6th place? Charlie Harris, Sway, 7th and 8th. Wolsey and David Chahud rounding out the top 10. Phoenix, he'll have a free choice of tyres, as will Tibos. We saw Sonoda crash out in the session. Conte had a few problems as well. Zoidema did not bother to set a time around into Lagos, so he'll be starting at the back of the grid. It's fantastic qualifying form from Neymar. We'll just have to wait and see if he can bring it when it really matters over the next 36 laps.
Yeah, it doesn't. They don't give out, unless it's F2, they don't give out anything for getting pole position. So you can qualify well, but if you can't convert to anything positive, or it's like Nicholas, the 2 races he's been here, where he's done a good qualifying, but he's not been able to really do anything with it. So you can qualify well, but if you can't keep it good in the race, it doesn't matter how fast you are on 1 lap pace. You need to have it in the race. That's what matters.
Yeah, certainly. We're expecting a strategy to... As always seems to be the case now on F1 2021, it's a fairly straightforward soft-medium strategy. On previous games, sometimes you can go for the soft-hard. I doubt we're going to see any of the drivers do that. I think they might want to stretch their first tyres a tiny bit longer, put mediums on at the end. Oh, could we even see drivers, though, start on the hard tyre, just in case they're taking a gamble that it will rain in the last 5 laps hard enough to put on intermediates?
I don't think it's going to rain that hard. I mean, I'm looking at the percentage, 44%. An hour away. I mean, considering the lap around here is about a minute 06, I don't think it's gonna, unless there's a safety car, is the only way I see that happening. Now, obviously, it's Brazil. Someone goes too aggressive in 1. They sometimes throw the safety car out for the weirdest of reasons. A car may not even retired. Yep, safety car. So there's a chance it could happen. But I would not be banking on a set of hards to make it to the rain. If it was like 45 or 30 minutes, maybe, but not at 60. That would not be what I'd be banking on at all.
Yeah, we'll have to see what the different drivers have gone for then. For the strategy around the Interlagos circuit then. 4.309 kilometers, 15 turns, 2 DRS zones, plenty of undulation, plenty of a chance, as we've said, for a rain. And it looks like a couple of drivers have maybe gone for that slight gamble. As you can see here, Conti and Sonoda, they're going long into this race.
Yeah, they're taking the gamble here, and they're going to try something different. I mean, they're 13th for 14th. No offense to Sonoda or Conti. They're fast, but they're not top fast. So it's a situation where sometimes you got to make your own luck or make your own strategy. And a situation where maybe taking a cue out of that, or maybe just thinking something will happen and this could really work out. So I don't blame him for trying it. If I was Zoidema as well, maybe I tried as well, but Zoidema's a driver that loves to attack. So it doesn't make much sense for him to be going on a set of hards when he's someone that loves to attack and wants to use that pace to really show his might on the field.
Yes, and if you want to find out more information about your favourite drivers in the race, you can use the IGK TAS system. Thanks for them providing information to us commentators about sector times, damage. You can use !help in the chat once the race gets started to just wait to see what all the drivers are doing, how they're doing on penalties as well. A nice little tool we get just to help us a tiny bit more out. Zoidema, like we said, he loves to attack. I think that's why he's on the medium tyres. He wants to get ahead of any potential hard runners. Neymar, it's good that we've got 3 drivers we've got 2 drivers at the front, Nicholas and Louis, that we've not really seen too much of this season, but we know we've got pace. Neymar, he's fighting for that second in the championship, so he might have to be a bit more careful than the 2 behind him.
Yeah, he may have to fight a little bit more because Nicholas has nothing to lose as well. They got nothing really to lose, so they're here to win or bust. You're a driver that comes in late, you're just here to win or bust. And a couple of drivers like Elite Dave as well, Sway, they're far enough down that they're just here to kind of win. They don't really care where they finish. But Neymar, he's looking to get a good finish here to at least get maybe second or third in the standings.
Yeah, well, after them, as we wait now for the lights to come on at the Interlagos circuit, we have got 5 lights. And we're underway for the Brazilian Grand Prix, and straight away, it's a pretty decent start from Nicholas, instantly taking the lead of this race and into turn 1. It's a nightmare start from Neymar because Scott's managed to get ahead as well. Oh, AMG out of the race on the run down towards turn 1, and a virtual safety car straight away. That was... AMG was out of the race before we even got to the first corner.
The thing is it looks like he hit Louis, and that's what I'm seeing on the indicator. I didn't get a good look at it either. And as far as I could tell, looking at the incidents, he hit, he hit Louis. So looks like he went too deep into braking 1, which is kind of odd. It's a short run, so you don't see that happen often. But I guess nowhere to go. Maybe try to avoid it, and lost his wheel again. Very odd. You don't think, especially hitting the backswing like that, and considering where he kind of parked, it's a very odd place to see it happen. But then it happened to Sonoda as well, so very weird.
Yeah, big blow, of course, there for Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship. They were hoping to take advantage of the fact that Williams had one driver. They had both of them. Well, one of their drivers is out straight away, and Red Bull now perhaps looking pretty good with both of theirs in second and third. Virtual safety car has ended, so we're back to green flag action. We'll see who gained into the first corner on that lap. You can't really say the first lap of the race. Nicholas up 1, Scott up 2, Neymar a bad start once again, Louis getting a bad start from third place, and Zoidema gaining 3 positions. Always one to watch out for. So lap number 2 of this race then. Scott all over the back of Nicholas again. He's yet to get a victory. Down the inside, he sends it into turn 1. He's in the white Red Bull and he's driving a bit like Max Verstappen. Not scared of any reputations at this moment in time. He's absolutely going for it in this race, which is brilliant to see. Maybe he might just be better off though waiting until DRS gets activated as Zoidema. He's already got himself up to 11th. If he gets past Phoenix, he's the lead car on this alternate strategy and could be looking very good later on.
I think that as well. I just look at Scott there trying to make that move. Maybe he's getting a little bit too big for his britches, but I think at the same time, though, after what happened last week with Neymar, where an incident happened that wasn't his fault and he got collided, maybe he just thinks, I got to just go, as it looks like Nicholas gets a little loose off exit there. So maybe he just realizes, if I'm ahead of everyone, I don't have to worry about getting taken out by someone else's accident. So maybe he's just thinking that, where it's better just to get ahead of this train and control the pace than let someone behind you maybe dictate and put you in a fight that you don't want to be in. But we do have a possible battle here, as I don't think Scott's going to make something happen here, marking my words. But we do see in the back here, we got Luke's under pressure. Dave up the 4th, which is very interesting for the Alfa Romeo driver. But how long will that last? Will it be a lunge? No, it will not. But I don't see anyone else really making a pass in the back, though. So we'll have to wait and see if DRS may cause some more fighting to happen.
Yeah, interestingly, Nicholas has got a lot more worn tyres. I think he did an extra lap on these softs in qualifying. His tyres were a lot more worn than Scott, which might be why you've seen already him struggling ever so slightly, just using a lot of his ERS there to maintain that lead, and Scott happy to stay behind for now. Neymar, he has no real choice. Now we're in a DRS train. Everyone but Conti is in this train. That's going to make it very difficult for us to see any overtakes. To Sway all over the back of Charlie Harris. It is possible to overtake into this right-hander here at turn 8 if the car ahead of you has a bit of a moment through 6 and 7. Otherwise, pretty much single file. Likewise, into Pico de Pato, you can dive down the inside. We've already said Lewis Hamilton and Alex Albon, it ended badly wrong in 2019. You need a very willing car alongside you to make that move happen. These top 3 started to get away from Dave ever so slightly, who has got a bit deep there into the young Zhao. In fact, Louis also went deep, so it isn't really pressuring that Alfa Romeo. That's good news for Dave, because he's actually lost DRS off the back of Neymar, so we might start to see these top 3 break away ever so slightly. Scott's going to go for one again down the inside into turn number 1, and now Nicholas, he's gone slightly deep into the second part of that corner just to try and defend that position. He's going to have a red ball all over his rear wing. Dave's had a spin in the background. He drops down the field. Down, I think, all the way to last place. As Scott round the outside into turn number 4 is a brave opportunity. And for now, he just has to sit back. He's showing his hand early. He does not want to sit in this train a second longer than he has to.
What happened, just to let you know what happened with Dave there, he was getting passed by Louis, and I think he went a little bit too wide, went on the paint, and it caused it back and he kicked out because I don't see any collisions on the lap screen. So it looks like they were just battling. He kind of ran out of road, and the back end kicked out. It's yellow flag sector 2. Now the tires are really cooked. He had kind of a sad performance for Dave, who's doing well. But as I was watching over with Scott, I'm watching Nicholas, and I'm just seeing that back end kick out almost every corner. It seems like that car is not planted through any corners, it feels like, and it's really struggling around certain corners to get the power down. And if I'm sitting there, I'm looking at that, I am very sketched because it's kind of like someone kind of getting swervy in Talladega, and you're like, oh God, what to do, how to get around him. And it looks like now Scott going to force the hand here, knows he wants to get around, and Scott is going to make a pass for lead of the race on lap 5. Now Neymar next man up. If Nicholas can't put any pressure back on Scott, Neymar may be the second car in line to make pressure.
Yeah, we'll see what Nicholas can do here. He's going to have the DRS for the first time in this race. He's not got a lot of electrical energy to use, and I don't think, although Scott's defending here, and Nicholas is going to try it all the way around the outside. No way is he going to be able to pull that one off. Goes slightly deep. Thankfully for him, Neymar isn't close enough to take advantage. Neymar, he's the one in this difficult situation. He had pole position. I think he'll admit it himself. Made a mess of the start. Now he's the third man in the DRS train, so a potential candidate, along with some of these other soft runners that find themselves stuck in the train, for the undercut later on.
Something else worth noting is Phoenix and Zoidem on the alternate strategy have caught the back of that David Choff train, which has now caught the back of Neymar because of their squabbling. So top 10 are now all on a DRS train, as long as Phoenix just stay within a second. So that is good for the alternate strategy runners because they're going to have to lose that much time on track, and they're going to use those medium series advantage. While for the soft runners up in the front, they gotta, if you're especially top 3, you're going to want to break away and find a way to break away. But for right now, though, it still looks good at the very least. At least this whole train. We got a pass here again for the lead. Nicholas going to try to take it around the outside, and he will. And that will put him back up to P1, but I'm assuming Scott will have an answer back as Walsey goes fastest of all. Now here comes the Red Bull again on the inside. Going to take the line again inside. Not going to make it pretty easy. Oh, a little bit of a touch. Hard to the wall goes the Haas driver, and he is around, and luckily goes things on. He will take no one else. That would have been 2, 3, 4 cars. Wheels still on it, but that is a completely broken wing for the Haas driver there, and I don't think he's going to be too thrilled with the Red Bull driver of Scott.
No, very contentious decision. A bit like maybe Vettel and Leclerc in 2019, those two colliding on that run down. It didn't look from the camera angle I had, looking from the side of Scott's car, as if he moved across too much. It will be interesting to see from both of them, because I'm almost certain that one will be going to the stewards. And Nicholas now with major damage. You can also see that yellow fuel light. He's 4.5 laps down on where he needs to be for fuel, so he's going to have to do one heck of a job saving fuel, or he's going to need a full, well, at least one full safety car, maybe 2 full safety cars. Scott didn't get any damage that we can see from that at this moment in time, but now he's got Neymar starting to put a bit of pressure on him, and somehow that didn't take out any other cars. Like you said, thankfully the ghosting system worked. I was fairly sure we were going to see another car end up retiring that, as it usually takes a second or two to click into action. Here comes Neymar though on Scott. Scott's going to go slightly defensive. Not defensive enough though to stop the Dane firing his way through. Neymar takes the lead in this race as Nicholas retires in the pit lane. We are down to just 13 runners. Neymar back where he started, back in P1.
Haas drivers aren't going to be too... if you're a Haas fan, that's another race with 0 points. There's only 1 round left. As long as Nicholas finished, they would have got at least a point, but it just shows that it can be sometimes hard to finish. And kind of finish off that point one more time on the Scott situation along with Nicholas. From my camera perspective, it did look like a little bit of a twitch. I want to say what the white car of the Red Bull of Scott twitched just a little bit, and they touched wheels. But at the same time, you could say the Haas maybe turned in. I didn't get good enough look, but did look at least one car twitched to the other. So it'll be interesting to see how the stewards rule. But back to the battle for the lead here. Scott going to have an answer back on Neymar. Definitely going to go around the outside here. Can he hang it around the center S? Is really clear beforehand. He will. So Scott will take back the lead. And it's back and forth, back and forth. You always get to see this. As long as the driver doesn't break away from that train, you constantly see this where back and forth continues to happen.
Yeah, normally though, in the first stint, they don't bother too much with the back and forth. They decide to wait until a bit later on, but here we go. These two are definitely bothering. They're loving things at this moment in time. There comes Neymar back ahead of the Red Bull of Scott, and now it's going to be side by side up the hill, and these two definitely don't want to make any contact up here. But Neymar just gets far enough ahead. A bit of a tap from the Red Bull there on the back of the Mercedes. Almost thinks about going for a move down the inside. Decides better of it. But these front five now have actually broke away. Wolsey's dropped back. He's just dropped outside of the DRS range. And still, Zoidemer's managed to get ahead of Phoenix. So he is now the lead car ahead of Phoenix. But he's still not managed to pick off any of the soft runners. So wouldn't count off Zoidemer just yet. Especially now that David's dropped outside DRS range for a split second. We'll have to wait and see if he gets back into it. But back at the front of the field, again, it is Neymar versus Scott. And I think we're just going to get a carbon copy of the previous lap.
I think we will as well, and we'll see what happens here around the outside. Actually, oh, facing the inside, that was very, very almost catastrophic. Almost ran in the back of Neymar, and Scott will retake it. I'm going to assume Neymar's going to have an answer back here. Going to go around the out, going to try to get the toe here and go to the inside. They keep squabbling. Louis and Charlie could have a fight here, and who knows what the Red Bulls do. But it looks like Neymar going to try to go around the side. Late move by Scott for a defensive maneuver, but not good enough, so Neymar holds P1, at least the end of Sector 1. And is going to keep it going at the very least, but I assume an answer back will happen soon, as there's now a big old train here, and if they don't get kind of a little bit off nose to tail, we may see a particle front wing all over the end of Sector 1.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie Harris is only about a second off his teammate at the moment. He's got two cars to fit into that 1 second. The Red Bull driver, was going to say the second driver's down the inside. He goes on the Alpha Tauri of Louis. A bit of wheel banging between the two of them, but it definitely looked like the gap was there, but they're now going to be fighting side by side here as the Alpha Tauri's still got that inside line for the next corner. Can Charlie hold it off all the way around the outside? These two battling. Now allowed the front two to just break away ever so slightly, and I think they will both have the DRS, so it's going to be a straight drag race between these. And you've got Sway not too far back either, as in the front again. You can see Neymar now trying to go around the outside. There's battling everywhere you look in this race. Neymar and Scott going side by side, and now the Mercedes gets his way back ahead. And has Scott got anything left to fight with? He's got a lot more VRS than the Mercedes, and he's already got a front wing slightly alongside here, and I don't think there's a lot Neymar is going to be able to do to stop that happening. So Scott gets back into the lead. Charlie now in third place. In fact, he's going to be in second because Scott's pushed Neymar wide ever so slightly. There's a bit more contact. The Red Bulls are having all sorts of fun in this race. So we've now got Scott leading, Charlie second, Louis in third, is he? No, Neymar's still trying to fight off this. I swear he's been side by side with someone for the entire lap.
Yeah, that is a sketchy. Oh, they touch wheels. Neymar's just telling him, please stop, let me breathe. This is what happens when you get in the train and go a little bit wide, because now here comes Sway. He's going to try to make a move around the outside. I think Neymar will finally get some breathing room, but that is where it's really sketchy, is when you're side by side for the whole run, and it's a situation where, ooh, it's just like you don't know what to do here. But something else worth noting is, just check out the lead here. Yeah, Scott's got some breathing room. Charlie Harris could be a rear gunner here, and it could be a situation where Red Bull can get some good points to the constructors. But the only thing worth noting, though, is that Zoidema all in the back of his train here, just far enough away if that calamity happens. You generally could say that he's smiling at the canary right now, because he can just kind of watch this and not have to worry about fighting on those mediums, just kind of save his tires so he can go a little bit longer on the range. And one more thing I do want to say is we do got some communication from Nicholas. All he's saying right now from what happened is one word, wow, and next week I'll get those big points though. As now we have a VSC.
Yeah, we do have a VSC. That is Tibos has broken his front wing coming through the centre S on a set of the medium tyres. Not really what you wanted to do whatsoever. It will be interesting to see what set of tyres he comes onto in the pit stop. It won't be the soft, but if he goes for another set of mediums, that says the drivers are pretty much counting on the fact that there will be some rain at the end of this race. So we'll have to see what Tibos does when he comes into the pits, as he will. So that will allow Dave to get back up into 12th position. The Alfa Romeo's not having the best of races at the moment, finding himself quite a long way off the back of the field. But this allows everyone to just save a bit of ERS, save that tiny bit of fuel. Hopefully we won't see the fuel shenanigans that we saw at the end of the last race. It seems like Austin is a very difficult track for fuel. And I know when we were doing TTML Sim, all the drivers were acutely aware just how hard that was going to be as Louis comes into the pits. This is pretty late into the VSC, but Louis, Sway and David Chahud all think it's worth gaining that just a couple of seconds here. DRS has been enabled once again. This could work out to be a pretty good undercut though.
thinking it could because they gained at least a couple seconds there, or at least because of the end of the safety car there. They're going to gain at least a little bit, but the question is, are they going to have enough clean track to make it work? That's what we're going to have to wait and see. Can they go in the hot lap mode? But something worth noting is Louis went on a set of hards, while Sway and Chad both went on a set of mediums. So if you think Louis was going to be trying to push to get up close, you think he would have went for a set of mediums, but going for a set of hards makes me think that he's thinking about something else, or at least making a strategy choice. And to kind of finish the point on Tibbles, he just put on a set of mediums, so maybe he thinks the rain is coming, or maybe he just thinks, I'll go for the fast lap to the end. But very interesting to see differing strategies from two different camps.
Yeah, but straight away, you can see how much the hards are struggling by the fact that Louis already managed to pick up a time penalty. He's got Sway all over the back of him from this middle sector, so that undercut that Sway and David Shahud were trying just been thrown out the window by the fact that they're stuck behind an AlphaTauri on very slow hard tyres, and it is going to take him a lap or two to get up to any sort of reasonable pace. He's going to have some defending to do on this run down towards turn number 1. So it is now Scott, Charlie, Neymar, Wolsey, the only 4 that started on the soft tyres that are still on their soft tyres as we are a third of the way through this race, as I think this is going to be one of the more straightforward passes you'll see. As soon as the DRS opens, he's alongside already, and that is nice and cleanly through for him. And can David Shahud follow as well? Just look at the overspeed Neymar, Sway and David Shahud had there. Louis down into 11th place, probably going to hold on for dear life onto the back of these cars to make sure he stays within DRS range, otherwise it could be a very long final stint indeed.
Only thing I wonder is, I'm reminded of the CWC race I did on Monday, where you can watch on League Racing TV, quick little plug. But the thing to go back to the point, though, is one of the drivers named Kenobi kind of had a Butterfingers moment with a late call for pits, and instead of putting on a set of mediums, put on a set of hards. So it makes me wonder, did he maybe, it was such a late call, he kind of forgot to switch to a set of mediums and instead put on a set of hards by mistake?
I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen plenty of times, especially I've done it myself where I've had to brake extremely early for the pit lane just to give myself that bit of time to put on the right set of tyres and almost end up costing myself the second or two. Is Charlie Harris going to go for a move here on his teammate? This looks very straightforward for the two Red Bulls, deciding that he might as well take advantage now, give the other one the DRS, keeps them safe from the car behind and doesn't lose you too much time if you do it cleanly like that as well. So Charlie Harris now takes the lead of this race. Scott getting himself up into second and won't be close enough to attack his teammate back. Sway, fastest lap of the race, 109.633. If we compare that, that was 1.5 seconds faster than Scott last time around. It was quite a bit way down the order, I admit, but they're putting some serious pace in on these fresh mediums.
Yeah, that may be something worth noting right now. They're pushing that hard that maybe it's time to go and maybe pit soon, but they're not at their window yet. They feel like the top 3. But something else I just want to point out, though, is kind of Scott and Harris. As long as they can stay 1-2 and Neymar doesn't fight too much, one gives a toe to the other one, and the other one then blocks, I wouldn't say blocks, but defends from the other, they can probably keep this 1-2 for a long portion of this race, because unlike the only reason why Neymar kind of got up and out-rooted out of his second spot is he went wide one corner, maybe a little touch between him and Scott, and that caused the train to go up on by. Now it looks like Charlie Harris coming in, so Scott going to stay out one more lap because Charlie Harris was the lead Red Bull, but so will Neymar as well. So very interesting to see different strategies. Is Wazzy, it's a bit of a naughty boy, gets a 5-second time penalty, but if they can come out ahead and re-coordinate, this could be a Red Bull 1-2 as long as one leads the train on the other.
Yeah, well, I have to say, I don't think they're going to come out ahead, though. We've got Sway and David Shahud here battling side by side. I think there was a bit of contact between the two of them, so this might actually help the Red Bull of Charlie Harris. He's going to come right with all this battle happening here. In fact, I think he's going to come behind every single one of these. There's Charlie Harris exiting the pit lane. There's the Alfa Romeo of Conti, who's going to be side by side with it. He's going to be ahead of the Red Bull here. So Charlie Harris is out in all sorts of traffic as there is a yellow flag, and that is Phoenix that has had it off. Coming through turn number 8, gets out back on track now ahead of Sonoda. That shows you A, the pace of the medium tyres around this circuit, and B, just how much time they gained by pitting under the VSC. David, Sway, and Louis, in the end, they were comfortably ahead of Charlie.
Yeah, they got a lot of breathing room here. As now Charlie Harris is going to get stuck behind Conti because Conti has to pit sooner rather than later on a 14-lap old hards, but he doesn't have to pit right yet. So it's going to be a little bit of a moving chicane. So it's a situation where now Zoidman is going to take over the lead. Maybe we haven't said that much in this broadcast yet. Keep an eye on him. But it's a situation now Charlie Harris finally going to get around, but now Wazzy's now stuck behind Conti, and he's going to press the issue quickly, knowing that he can't get sent behind him for too long, or else it's going to be kind of curtains for him. But we're going to see Scott coming out right now. I think it's going to be David Chaldhood. Yeah, he's going to easily take over the lead of this race with Sway second and Rocks third. And I even think the undercut's going to help. Yeah, it's going to even help. It's going to help, I want to say, Charlie Harris as well. So really, the undercut, very powerful around Brazil. And that safety car decision really worked out brightly for the top three. Oh, sorry, I guess you could say 4th, 5th, and 6th. And the one other question I do have is, Louis kind of hanging on those hards. Maybe he's playing the long column game, knowing that maybe those hards will be good by the end.
Yeah, certainly. He's hoping that it does stay dry and that we see the medium sort of fade on the cars ahead of him. Just looking at Zoidemer's tyre wear at the moment, who's done 15 laps. Well, look at Phoenix's, because we know Zoidemer's always supreme on his tyre wear.
Phoenix spun, so
yeah,
maybe Tsunoda. But Tsunoda's on a set of hard, so we don't have a good comparison.
I mean, 45% on the front left for Phoenix, 46 on the front right. If we say it'd be maybe in the 40s is a normal amount after 15 or 16 laps. These mediums of David and Sway should make it to the end of the race if we don't see any rain. But it might be pretty sketchy in the final few laps. We'll have to wait and see as Sway comfortably gets the move done this time down the inside. He is now into 4th place, and that is the net lead of this race. And it is going to be very intriguing to see what the other drivers can do. Scott's off!
Oh!
Scott is off. He's just overtaken Wolsey, so I wonder if there was contact between the two of them. We just caught the tail end of that. Scott is off. He spins round. He loses DRS. And again, from a good position, where it looked like he was on for a victory, barring some absolute miracle, it's not going to happen today for the Red Bull driver.
I'm just hearing somewhere in the distance right now, probably, I don't know if this is what Nicholas is thinking, but I swear I hear one driver somewhere saying the word karma because of how Scott, I wouldn't say he's driving dirty, but a situation where he's kind of a little bit of a aggressive bloke right here today in Brazil. So I think some drivers may not be the most thrilled with him, and maybe the word karma does come out, but that is a lot of competition gone. So now Charlie Harris is going to fly the flag for the Red Bull, and Zoidema, they have to try to both finish ahead of Zoidema, at the very least get some good points here in order to help themselves with the constructors, because Zoidema probably isn't going to clinch today. You would need to get like a max of 30 plus 25, which would be 55, if I'm not mistaken. So it's probably not going to be a clinch day for the Williams, but definitely could put himself in a good reign for next week.
Yeah, certainly. He's 35 points ahead. Well, Williams are 35 points ahead, I should say. They need to be 56 ahead. So we need 3rd and the fastest lap. And Red Bull not to score any, Mercedes to barely score any, Alpine to have a bad race, McLaren to have a bad race. It's gonna take a lot for that to happen today. Even if he gets a victory, it's going to be pretty difficult. As Wolsey now down the inside of Charlie Harris. Now Wolsey, we know he's quick. He has got that 5-second penalty though at this moment in time, and a 3-second for track limits. You can just see there, Dave rocks Tsunoda and Phoenix also with track limit penalties. But Wolsey, he's fair play. He's entitled to it at the moment as Charlie now picks up a 3-second time penalty. Really frustrating for these guys at the moment. And fair play to Louis. He's doing a good job on these hards. He's not under any pressure from the cars behind.
He's making it work. He's definitely going to be strong by the end here. And I think it's generally going to be a good play here. We'll have to see. I still think maybe not the best, but we'll definitely see how he comes at the end. Because right now on his wear, he is at 14, while the two cars ahead of him that pitted are at 21 and 23 respectively. So they are really, he's got about 7% difference. So he's definitely going to at least got 2 to 3 extra laps on those tires. So if it does stay dry, and it doesn't, which it doesn't even look like there's a cloud yet in the sky, it's a situation where Louis could be, if he doesn't go too far away and is able to kind of survive the pressure from Harris and Neymar, he could be one to watch here. As now Tibos gets 3 from multiple warnings, we'll have to put him, add another 3 to his total. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But I still think a driver to watch out for, I know I say it, is Zoidem. He's pulling a long distance to Phoenix. And taking a look at the gap to the leader right now, the gap to a Sway is 13 seconds. He'll definitely lose it in the pit stops, but he'll be somewhere in the thick of that battle there, somewhere around between him and Neymar. So we definitely want to watch that on a fresh set of soft tires. He may be definitely something to watch.
Yeah, I think he'll be pretty quick indeed. If he pitted now, he would come out round about where Conti is. Tom in the chat saying Scott's the most honourable driver I've raced and he got taken out. I mean, to be fair, so far this season, I'd describe Scott as tough but fair. He's not been a person who, if he has been taken to the stewards, I think there will be no further action. Well, actually, no, I say that. In Japan, he did pick up a couple of penalties, but he does seem to be fairly fair with his racing, so we'll have to wait and see if he does get taken to the stewards. He's been involved in a couple of incidents today. Maybe now that it's the end of the season, just feeling like he needs to get his elbows out a bit more to get that first victory, but it does look like that may have backfired. David Chahud not able to get onto the back of Sway at the moment, and now they're catching up to Tsunoda. How quickly can they clear this hard-shod Aston Martin? Zoidema, he'll be hoping that it he really holds these drivers up. And I think Louis, Volzy, Charlie, Neymar will be hoping that the Aston Martin does him a big favour as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a question. Remember, these tires are falling off a little bit on those two medium runners. Not too much of an extreme that you'd say it's curtains, but definitely they're going to be a little bit slower. They're not going to be fresh out of the box mediums, but with DRS coming up this time by, it should be a quick little move on them, bearing Sonoda becoming basically a chicane. And something else we're noting, Sway's only about 27% ERS, while David's at well over 80, as now he gets 3 from Alta Warden's going a little bit too wide off entry there, or X, you could say. So, in reality, Sway's probably going to get the move done here at the very least, because all the ERS he's got left. I don't think Sonoda's putting up much of a fight. He's using none of his ERS, so it's going to be probably a quick pass here. As now Phoenix is in, pitting on his mediums on lap 19. We'll see how quickly Sway makes it. Sway is now around, so no pressure from Sonoda. But now David Shaw's going to be kind of in an odd situation. If he doesn't get this pass done right here, right now, he's probably going to have to go through the whole S section behind Sonoda, which is definitely not going to be pretty, as now Louis gets another 3, so bring him up to 6. Leaving only, as we're going to see here, can David make a pass? He will force the issue and he'll get it successfully. So not much of a holdup from the Aston Martin. But to finish my point, as I just want to say, is that top only 5 drivers have avoided getting at least 3 seconds.
Yeah, so good job from those that have kept it clean in track limits. Conti, Scott, Neymar, Sway and Zoidema. We saw Louis there lose a couple of positions, lost 1 to Wolsey, tried to defend as hard as he could, but that 1 to Charlie Harris. That's where he picked up the 3-second time penalty, but lost that as well, and now he's got Neymar all over the back of him. But in that DRS train, it might become a bit more difficult. Neymar seems to have spent a lot of this race stuck in a DRS train, if we're being perfectly honest, as into the pits comes the race leader from the back of the grid. The champion this season comes into the pits. He's going to be putting on a set of the soft tyres, and he will come out, I think, ahead of Scott, to be perfectly honest, as Neymar now gets that move done on Louis. So that is Neymar up into 7th, and just see how much time he's lost. He was right behind Charlie and Wolsey. He's now outside of DRS range.
Yeah, he is indeed. That's not going to be a fun thing to watch in the battle here. We'll just see where he slots in. It's going to be Zoidema slotting in. I think, yep, he's going to be well ahead of Scott. So he's going to have some clean track, though. So, again, he can kind of close the gap up, but it's a pretty about, if my gap maps are 2 seconds behind Louis. So it's not going to be a quick drive, but if anyone can do it, Zoidema can.
Yeah, he's proven this season. He's fantastic with his tyre management. He just seems to make the right calls. Has he made the right one today? As Phoenix now picks up another 3-second time penalty. We get the penalties up again there. You can see 8 seconds for Wolsey, 6 for Phoenix and Louis. The rest of the drivers that have them on 3. You can get a late safety car. That is going to be absolutely crucial. Back towards the lead of the race, though, with just over 14 laps to go. With his Sway still leading from David Chahad. Sonoda hanging on in there for now on his hard tyres. He's actually, I think, caught up ever so slightly and got himself within DRS, which is very handy for, well, no, he's still with those guys, of course, but he is staying within DRS range, which will help him with Wolsey and Charlie Harris. Talking of Charlie Harris, down the inside he goes on the McLaren driver into turn number 1. Wheel banging between the 2 of them. We've already seen the McLaren and 1 Red Bull have contact. Oh, Wolsey's lost it. Big shunt into the barrier, loses it on the curb, coming through the centre S, and we're seeing that so often tonight. Drivers really struggling on traction, especially once they hit the curbs.
It looked like in qualifying it was going to be the pain of corner 5, but now it looks like it's a pain of the center S's, as that's the next casualty, not casualty, he's still racing, so let's just say the next victim of the place in question. And it's just they're fighting for traction, especially on those old tires. It's kind of a shock, but Wolsey just going to be kicking himself for that mistake. And with such few laps left, and he's going to have to limp around on a broken wing, he is really just going to be kicking himself, and he's not going to be too happy with himself. But the kind of finish the point, though, is that I was kind of noticing with him and Swayze, Charlie Harris and Wolsey fighting, they were kind of allowing Sonoda to kind of keep a buffer between the top 2 and them. So it's a situation now with Wolsey gone. Charlie Harris could maybe get a good run of Sonoda here and maybe try to get back the time lost, because now the gap of Sway and Chad has broken about 1.7 seconds away from Sonoda, and that's well more than enough of a gap, because we know Sonoda's still going to have to pit. So it's a situation where Charlie Harris needs to get a move on, or else it's going to be the top 2 fighting for the winner, Sway and Chad.
Yeah, Conti's given up on his set of hard tyres. He's gone for the softs. So here comes Charlie Harris on Sonoda. Down the inside he goes. He gets himself up into that 3rd place for now. Neymar's still trying to stay with these guys, and he hasn't got any penalties at the moment. So if he can stay fairly close to the back of Charlie, he could still gain that podium later on in the race, as Wolsey gets another pit lane speeding penalty and he retires. Was absolutely fantastic in Belgium for whatever reason. was not able to translate that pace tonight. So we are down to 12 runners then in the Brazilian Grand Prix. Still looking, well, there's a few more clouds out there on the circuit than there were earlier on, but it's still looking very sunny. You wouldn't expect rain to come in this race if things stay as they are. I do wonder if we're going to see any rain whatsoever, to be perfectly honest. We know overcast at 45 minutes. It's a 36 lap race and it is a fairly short track, so we might get away with things being completely dry in this race. Here comes Zoidema though on the back of Louis. The AlphaTauri has got the DRS, but he's got nowhere near as much grip as the Williams driver, and our champion sweeps round the outside, gets himself up into 6th. Now, how quickly can he clear Neymar and... well, how quickly can Neymar clear Tsunoda? Then how quickly can Zoidema clear Tsunoda? Get onto the back of Neymar and Charlie and see what he can really start doing on these soft tyres before they lose their grip.
Well, here's something worth noting. Right, David Ricciardo has 3 seconds. Charlie Harris has 3 seconds. Tsunoda has 6. We can throw Tsunoda out of the question. It's kind of a moving chicane. But if Zoidema can really get close, he can just... now there goes Neymar going to kind of, I wouldn't say let go, but definitely was really fast there. Going to avoid the train of the problems of the Senna S's, which we're going to see Zoidema get really stuck up here. You can see the grain on Tsunoda's tires. But it's a situation where with the top 3, we got Sway, Neymar, and Zoidema all with no time penalties. It's a situation where they could take out the last 3 steps to the podium because the other 3 have been a bit naughty and got penalties.
Yeah, certainly. Keeping it clean is oh so crucial in league racing. We've seen a couple of VSCs. I said it earlier on, if we see a full safety car, that's going to be even more costly. Tsunoda hasn't got the DRS here, but Zoidema's definitely not had an ideal lap that he'd have wanted, and there goes Tsunoda into the pits. And I'm sure the Williams are thinking, well, why didn't you do that a lap earlier? Would have saved me all sorts of trouble, but there we go. Zoidema now up into 5th place. He's only 4 seconds off Sway, and he is within penalty range of David and Charlie, like you said. So if the race finished on this lap, we'd end up with Sway, Neymar and Zoidema as your podium, but still 11 laps to go. Still a possibility of rain, or I don't think it is becoming a vanishingly small possibility as the race carries on.
I do see some dark as we're going through that 5-6 complex. That looks like a very dark cloud. Maybe I'm just hopefully wishfully thinking, but that looks very dark. Like when you see an overcast condition when it gets rainy, these clouds are getting a little darker.
Yeah, and there's also how heavy is it going to rain? If it starts throwing it down on lap 31, 32, is it going to rain hard enough that you have to come in to put on a set of intermediates, or our driver's just going to try and stay out on their tyres they're on? And again, being on the softs could be better there, because they might just retain their heat slightly better than some of these other tyres. We might see a move for 2nd place on track. David Chahud seems to have lost out ever so slightly. He was on the back of Sway for a long time, was doing a good job on his ERS, but now just seems to have dropped ever so slightly further behind as Charlie Harris tries to close in. Can't get close enough this time around, but there's that telltale red light on the back of the Ferrari, which means he's not going to have a lot to fight with coming through turn number 3 straight away, using the last little bit of his battery. But we're going to see Charlie Harris come up as Phoenix retires in the pit lane, and a very straightforward pass into the CW Largo. That is Charlie up into 2nd place on track for now. Neymar and Zoidema, they've got to make sure they clear the Ferrari just as quickly.
Yeah, they got to make a quick work here again. And there goes Charlie Harris as well. And we got Zoidema. Actually, Zoidema just passed Neymar for 4th while we were kind of watching that. So Zoidema, I think they may have made a slight mistake because he was kind of clearly ahead of him by a good margin. So Zoidema kind of sensing blood in the water. Now if you get around the Ferrari, he's up to P2. Remember, started last, P15, is now up to presumably net P2 with time penalties. And only 1.2 behind Sway. I don't think it's out of the question that Williams on those softs could catch the lead.
No, definitely not here. And I think Sway, he'll now see where Zoidema is. He'll know that he's in 4th place. He'll know that he has no penalties. And he'll know that he's on a set of softs as that yellow flag is still for Phoenix's car coming out the pits. David Chahud's got the DRS here. I don't think he's got any hope of defending though from Zoidema. Sends it down the inside into turn number 1. And that is Zoidema up into 3rd place. He's doing a very good job indeed on these soft tyres. Next target will be Charlie Harris, and he can maybe afford just to spend a lap or 2 cooling things down, getting that ERS built up and then going on an assault for the on-track 2nd place. Tsunoda, not having a bad race to be perfectly honest. He did start on that hard tyre, which looks like it has been the wrong strategy from himself and Conti, but he's doing okay at the moment. 8th position, fastest lap of the race, would be his best result of the season. Think we might see Tibos later on in this race. He's got to come into the pits again, so I don't think it'll be too long before he does put on that set of soft tyres. Sway's just got to try and keep things clean here and just, if he can save anything in his tyres, just save a bit to make sure you've got something to fight with at the end. Let's not forget, him, David and Louis were the first drivers to come into the pits. They pitted under the VSC to get rid of their softs.
Yeah, he also needs to save some ERS right now because he's at 20%, while Harris is at 36, and Zoidema was above 30. Now using a lot to try to force the issue around the Red Bull. Will he try to hang it around the outside? He will successfully make the pass, put Zoidema up to 2, and now a second distance. And I think Timbaugh said he's lost the back end. So if he were to crash out, that would definitely something Sway would not want to see. Maybe he actually would to kind of get a fresh set of tires. But different folks. Right now, he's got about a second gap. He should really use this time to save up that ERS, get as much as he can, because he's going to need it to kind of fight for his life against Zoidema and make this work, per se, because it's been kind of a season to forget for Sway, but all that can be forgotten with a win. And to kind of finish one more point, with Tsunoda getting the fast lap of the race, it makes it all that harder for Zoidema to make it a clinching situation here.
Yeah, certainly. It's the Red Bulls are still on for some pretty decent points because Scott hasn't got a penalty yet. And as things stand at the moment, doesn't have to gain too much to get within penalty range of his teammate and of David Chahud. So it's been a fantastic job from Scott to fight his way back up, kept himself positive after that spin, maybe a bit lucky not to hit the wall, not to get any damage, but still another good recovery drive from Scott. And I think that's kind of in a way been the story of too many of his races this season, which is why Zoidema's ran away with the championship. I think in Japan had a spin, obviously in America, had that incident with Neymar, and again here, that's 3 races in a row where Scott, maybe not for any fault of his own, last time definitely not, this time we didn't see. Japan, I think it was ruled pretty much 50-50 by the stewards. He's been involved in some incidents, as that is Louis, who's had a spin on a set of the hard tyres, as Zoidema, well, all that's been going on, Zoidema's in the lead.
Yeah, I did see that happen. He's got a good toe off the straight there, made the pass in the 1. Situation where it was kind of relatively routine, and now he's still got those softs there. And if we take a quick look at the wear, they're only at 21%, while Sway's are at 50. I think there's a chance Sway may not make it on those mediums, honestly. He's at 58% right now. We got David Chahud, who's at 63. So the two drivers that pitted that early, maybe we were kind of wondering why Louis went on a set of hards, but I think that answers the question because Louis at 41, while Chahud's about 10 away from a puncture, and we got Sway about 12, as I think Louis lost it again. Yeah, he did, and now he's got a broken front wing. So the 3 drivers that pitted under that safety car, VSC, one is now have to limp it around the pit lane, now go for the fast lap, while the other 2, as now Charlie Harris gets past his Sway, may be out of tire grip, and it may be curtains.
Yeah, retirement Louis is out of the race, and I don't know whether he's lost it again coming through Magulio there, but he's out of the race with 6 laps to go. Will that cause a VSC or a full safety car? There is quite a lot of runoff at that area of the circuit, so it might not cause.
I think it would have already came out if it was going to come out. We'll see here. Yeah, he kind of went hard into the tire barrier there, so I think he did lose it on his own, way off the track there. At least that's what I hope, but because else you could say something different. But yeah, it's a situation where, though, yeah, I think unless the safety car comes out now, even if it does, yeah, rain is not coming. So it's now pure pace, but it would get interesting if safety car did come out because it would allow Sway to pit and maybe have one last charge at this top half.
Yeah, definitely. He's still trying to hang on those medium tyres. He's in, like you said, he's in a better situation than David Chahud is at this moment in time. He's got 76% on that front right. I'm going to say it, there's absolutely no chance he's getting to the end of this race with that front right tyre in that state. Timos's mediums are getting pretty worn out as well, so I think we'll be seeing him come into the pits fairly soon, as David almost thinks about coming in but decides to stay out in the end. How long is it going to be? Well, are we going to see both Alpines? We know Timos has to come into the pits again to avoid getting disqualified. Are we going to see both Alpines and David Chahud get into some really serious tyre trouble? That long right-hander into turn 3 is the last thing you want at this moment in time, and Magulio and Young Sao at the end of Sector 2, at the end of Sector 3 are going to feel absolutely dreadful for these cars. We could still see Scott Bugner here get him at podium, which would be absolutely fantastic after the troubles that he had earlier on. But in the lead of the race, we've said it so often, especially in the last few races, Zoidema just done everything right once again. As things stand, he's on for his 4th win in 5 races and his 5th of the season, proving why he's a worthy champion.
Yeah, no, it's just a situation where he's just been spanking the field. Some drivers have those seasons, and this is Zoidema's reign of terror, you could say, in a situation. And it doesn't seem like anytime someone tries to go stopping him, it doesn't work out too well because he just finds that horseshoe. Now Tibos is pitting this time by, and I wouldn't be shocked if the Ferrari takes the hard right. No puncture yet. He's at 80. He should be taking the hard left, and he's not. He is staying out there. He thinks that tire, there's no way that tire makes it. There can't be any way that tire makes it. He's at the popping range. So we may see a Ferrari kind of grief-stricken around here soon. Now Scott is 2 behind Neymar, and with Sway not having time penalties, he's going to have to get 2.5 seconds if Sway stays out in 4 laps to get that last podium spot.
I think for Sway, it's definitely worth staying out at the moment. You're at 68%. At 75 is when you might get a puncture. And you've got 4 laps to go. You could get away with this here. David Chahoud's on 82% at that front right. And I'm just keeping Taz up at the moment because I'm expecting it to go to 100 any minute now. But I have seen drivers get into the 90s on their tyres and get to the end of the race. So I think he's thinking, you know, if I pit now, I'm giving up. I've got a 13-second cap behind me. I might as well just try and hang on. And if the tyre does last, then woohoo. If it doesn't, I might gain a fastest lap point. But I'm going to lose a couple of places out on track. So why not try? Why not try something different? As long as Sway stays within DRS of Charlie Harris, he loses a bit of grip in the dirty air, which heats your tyres up more. Well, this might just help him defend from Neymar, who's still outside of DRS range, and Scott as well. Again, brilliant recovery from the other Red Bull drivers. Zoidema and Williams are going to get 30 points as things stand at the moment. And yes, Sonoda has the fastest lap, so it will be 30 points. Red Bull are going to get 40 points as things stand. So that gap in the championship would come down all of a sudden to 33 points. So still tough, but still definitely doable for Red Bull next time around. 3 laps to go. No one's coming into the pits now unless they get that puncture, and it is definitely going to be a dry end to the Brazilian Grand Prix.
Yeah, unless someone's at Zoidema's hometown pulling the route, like the internet for that town out, it's going to be a very hard gap for those 2 Red Bulls to do it. But it's a situation where, again, I'm just keeping an eye on Choate's tire right now. It's still hanging at 86. It's gaining so high that I get why, like, Sway is still holding a pretty good gap right now. Neymar is not able to get within a second, and I think he's actually catching, right now Sway is catching the back of Charlie Harris. So he may get P2 back on track if he's lucky, but probably doesn't want to force the issue. As Neymar is really not closing, you think he would be closing the gap better, per se, with 20% better tires, but they've both fallen off pretty hard. Scott is not really getting close either with 2 laps to go, so bearing Sway's tire going pop in the night, it's a situation where you're going to need some help. As now Tibos goes fastest on the lap, and David Chahoud is still surviving. So Sonoda loses the fast lap to Tibos, and yeah, I think right now, again, it's Zoidema's race to lose, and with him nowhere close to puncturing range, it's a good situation to be that Williams driver right now. Yeah,
Sonoda was 2 seconds faster than David Chahoud on the last lap. Tibos on his brand new fresh soft tyres was 3.5 seconds faster than David Chahoud, and it is a very short track. Interlagos, one of the shortest tracks on the Formula 1 calendar, so that just shows you how difficult things are at the moment for David. Both his front tyres are now in that risk of getting a puncture as Sway's starting to come into that, but one man who isn't, the one man who just needs to keep it clean as he rounds the, the final proper corner for the penultimate time. Zoidema looks as though it's going to be another straightforward victory. Good drive by Charlie Harris. That penalty might just cost him a podium. I'm saying might because you still don't know what's going to happen with Sway at this moment in time, who has now dropped outside of DRS range, and Neymar's got within it. This could get interesting because Sway, he's not going to have a lot of grip in that middle sector to defend with.
Yeah, he could be under fight pressure here, and he wants that second position, and he doesn't have much tires to work, because if he pushes too hard, he could lose both tires. But looking at Chahoud, he's basically kind of laughing in the face of God, you could say, at 81 and 91 respectively. So we'll have to wait and see. I just don't think it's going to be close enough, but if he gets close enough on that long straight, that's where the pass is going to happen. Neymar's got about 17% ERS, while Sway's only got 6. So Sway's going to have to really hope Neymar makes a mistake in this F section here, or else that will be curtains. But someone else, Sway's going to be, Harris is going to be hoping Sway can kind of hold up Neymar, and if he can get just far enough ahead, he may be able to steal that last step of the podium away from his teammate Scott.
Yeah, we've seen drama with an Alpine getting a late race puncture already once this season at Bahrain, and that was Tibos. Are we going to see drama again involving an Alpine and their tyres? But one man who, just everything he touches seems to turn to gold. He went for that alternate strategy, got an absolutely superb start to the race, and it is going to be another victory to just cap off this championship. 5th victory of the season for Zoidema. He takes the win here. Charlie Harris will cross the line in second, and it is going to be Neymar by 14 thousandths of a second. Take second place from Sway. That could be important at the end of the season. David Chahoud has 94% on his front right tyre. He comes across the line in 6th place. Charlie and Scott just missing out on podiums in the end for Red Bull. 4th and 5th though, still pretty decent points for them. Tsunoda with a good job in 7th. Conti, who we didn't really talk about in this race, but fair play to him for not getting any penalties. He comes home in 8th place. Timos finished 10th with the fastest lap. And both Alfa Romeos having pretty quiet races, but doing a decent job to get to the end. Conti and Dave, 8th and 9th respectively. And again, Zoidema absolutely brilliantly called for strategy right. And with some of those on those soft tyres, well, that started on the softs and then went onto the mediums, just making mistakes. It meant less cars to pass for Zoidema. Just made that job easier, but with the pace he's got, he could well have done it anyway.
I think he could have done it as well. He had the pace pure, and he was on the back of the train, and Zoidema, again, makes everything he touches turns to gold. But honestly, I kind of want to give my driver today to an inanimate object, because I'm looking at that. How that right front of David Chauhan say? I know I say, like, oh, we're making hyperbole, but it's at 95%. They pop at 70 or 80. I bet you Tibos is worrying what he has to do to get a tire like that, because it didn't pop. Somehow it didn't pop. So whatever God bless David Chauhan's tire, congratulations, because it was a hard-fought 6 to keep that tire going. But yeah, Zoidema, just dominating performance again. Not dominating in the front, but just playing the strategies right and getting another win. His 8th podium of the season, his 5th victory. That's why he clinched championship last week, and just showing how strong he is.
Yeah, absolutely superb job. I think he is going to be moving up to F1 next season. A lot of the drivers in F2 will be glad to see that. He takes the victory then. Neymar, bad start to this race, maybe that could have been the moment that cost him. Did fight back though to get second on the line from Sway. His first, I believe his first podium of the season. I will check that very quickly. It is the first podium of the season. Great job there by Sway. Charlie Harris and Scott, 4th and 5th for Red Bull. Means they only gained 2 points on Williams in the constructor, so it looks like that's going their way as well. David Tsunoda, Conti, Dave, Tibos were the best of the finishers. We saw Louis, Phoenix, Wolsey, Nicholas and AMG. The retirements from what was a lively Brazilian Grand Prix. I think it's fair to say the least. Controversy with contact right from the start, of course. We saw AMG retire from the race early on. Nicholas had that massive accident with Scott. Scott then spinning when he had contact with Wolsey. So much going on. Those front 3 drivers there were just able to negotiate all of that and claim the podium.
Yeah, it was a strong performance indeed, and definitely, again, tips his hat, and it was a strong drive for the other two. Especially Sway shows that the auto strategy did work, pitting on lap 10, so good for him. And then you have Neymar, was able to kind of, probably wanted to win this race, getting 3 poles in a row, but still, he probably won't complain about a P2, especially after last week.
No, I'm just going to try and do some very quick maths to try and work out what the situation is looking like for second in the championship. So Scott's now going to find himself on 138 points. Carwin Robb stays on 122. Tom stays on 114. Tibos goes up to 119. Neymar now has 124. So Scott not looking too bad at the moment. I think he's now, if I can remember what I said, I think he's now 14 points ahead of Neymar for that battle for second in the championship. So maybe a slight favourite with 31 points on the table going into the final round. But we are going to start bringing in some of the drivers for interviews, and these two are starting to become familiar faces so far this season, especially the man we are going to talk to first. It is a 5th victory of the season, a 3rd in a row, 4 out of the last 5 races for XL Zoidema. Even starting at the back can't stop you this season.
I'm quite surprised myself, because this is supposed to be my worst track of the calendar, and normally I don't have any pace here, and to be honest, I'm quite surprised with myself today.
Tell us about the first couple of laps of the race, because you seem to make a lot of moves to get yourself to the front of those medium runners. Do you think that was crucial to helping you secure this victory today?
Yeah, I had a really a decent start, and I got rid of 2 people straight away. Like, I just had because of the better start, and then somebody DNF'd basically on the straight already, so that's another place. And then there was a hard runner in front of me, which is just pace-wise, I'm just going to be quicker than him. So that was pretty easy overtake. And then I think there was only 1 medium runner in front of me. And by the time I got past him, like the soft, their pace just falls off after like a 5, 6, 7 laps. So I was just faster than the soft runners at that point. So I was just in the train. And yeah, I think because I was in the train already, it set me up for a really good Elstrat race, I guess.
Yeah, definitely did. Pepsi, do you have any questions for Zoidema?
I guess I'll throw out one quick one about the constructors. You now, I think, lose 10 points in the gap if the math was correct. I think if my co-commentator did his math right. But going in, you still have a pretty good gap. So what's the plan going into the final week? Still leading constructors. What are you and your teammate, if he does able to show up next week, what are you guys going to do to try to help ensure that title is won in Abu Dhabi, at least the constructors?
Well, I'm hoping my teammate shows up for once. And then hopefully he can get some good points. Next week I'm probably gonna start from the back again, which
Risky.
is risky, but I don't know.
Challenge, though.
I've had enough. I've done enough points for my team this season, so it's up to my teammate to get some points.
All right, putting the challenge on the teammate, but definitely like one of those YouTube challenges going for it again. He did it successfully 1 week in a row. Can he make it back to back? If that's the case, though, you're definitely getting a ticket to F1. There's no ifs, buts, or coconuts. So we may see you in the top division next season.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
But that will. Yep, hopefully. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say hopefully indeed, because the pace you've shown shows you're definitely up there. So yeah, congratulations, and we'll see you next week for the last to first challenge round 2.
Thank you.
We're now going to bring in our second place finisher, and it was only just second place finisher, 14 thousandths of a second. It is Neymar. Congratulations on getting that second place today. Tell us about the start of the race, because you obviously started on pole once again, third pole position of the season. Just a bit of a bad getaway meant you were third heading into turn 1.
Yeah, I made too much wheel spin, to be honest. I couldn't find the grip when I started, but it was just to keep on behind the 2 guys in front.
How difficult was it trying to get through the traffic at the second part of the race? We saw you right behind Charlie Harris at one bit. I think it was Sonoda you got stuck behind, and then you dropped outside of the DRS range. Were you worried at that point maybe a podium was just too far away?
I didn't expect the podium coming into today, even after the pole, because we don't know what happened. We saw that last week. And it was just to keep behind, keep it easy. I didn't want my tire to explode, so I tried to manage a bit.
Yeah, keeping it easy. Definitely the way today. Neither of the top 3 drivers picking up penalties. Pepsi, do you have any questions for Neymar?
I guess I'll say one thing and try not to take too much offense with this, but you've gotten 3 poles so far this season and sadly no victories. So I guess the main question is that going into the final race, I guess the question is, I don't know if Abu Dhabi is your strong track or not, but you probably want to at least get 1 win. So what are you going to try to do to get that, maybe that monkey off your back and get that win?
Drive faster.
I guess a simple question gets a simple answer, but yeah, I guess that is correct. Not much more you can do, but yeah. So you're just going to try to find that pace in that car and get your form. So that's good to see, though.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Neymar for joining us. Sway unfortunately won't be, so that's the end of the podium interview. So what was a very interesting Brazilian Grand Prix. Always great to see the different strategies, how they work out at the end. We had Zoidema, conventional medium to soft strategy, Neymar, conventional soft to medium, and Sway, an earlier soft to medium, just trying his best to get those tyres to last to the end. Fair play for his lack of tyre wear, you could say, because he was a good 10% behind David Chahud at the end when it comes to how worn the tyres were.
Yeah, he made it work indeed and definitely hung on. So you got to give points to Sway on that front. He hung on for dear life. It was, if he barely got past the end by Neymar there, but definitely played the strategy right, was able to lead the train and save just enough that, unlike Chaw, whose tires fell off so bad that he just lost touch, he was able just to keep enough wear in him that he was able just to stay in the top pack and give himself a good podium here today for the driver that's kind of been average, but not really been the strongest. But so maybe that gives him some good momentum going into the next season.
Yeah, some good momentum going into next season and into next week. As you can see there on the right-hand side, well, on the right-hand side of the screen, yeah, it is the final race of the season next time at Abu Dhabi. But before that, there is F4 and F5 action on Friday. We're having a bit of a break from the Sim League because it is going to clash with the United States Grand Prix. And I think rather than
Mexico.
crashing around Brazil, I'd rather actually watch the professionals give a go at driving Formula 1 cars a lot better than I can. So make sure to check that out. Make sure to check out CWC on Monday as well. And There's also EML action next Wednesday from the Baku City circuit. I'll be covering League One alongside Aidan Carter. We've got Graham Chappell and Curtis, also known as Storm, covering League Two. And James and Mike Edwards will be covering the Premier Division. We'll be back, of course, on Thursday with TTML F2. Thank you to all the drivers for the race and to those that joined us for the interviews. Thanks once again to Pepsi for joining me in the commentary box. Thanks to all you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week in Abu Dhabi for the final race of the season. Can Williams clinch the Constructors title to go with Zoidem as double? He said he needs his teammate to do the job. I think he's proved so far this season, sometimes if you want a job doing properly, you've got to do it yourself. Good night.